There we go. I'd like to first thank James Sullivan for the new tripod that I got for Christmas. And the reason why I've not done a CineVlog review on The Last Jedi as of now is... I better shut that off. I don't want to get distracted here. The reason why I haven't done a CineVlog on The Last Jedi is because, well, Christmas happened. And as you know, it's all about spending time with the family, getting that last-minute gift, and just it got in the way, and also I still had to do that Jingle All the Way review for you guys, so certain sacrifices have to be made, but it wasn't like I was not going to do it, because there's definitely a lot to talk about this. Okay, where to begin? So, to show my pure proof that I did go to this movie, here we are. Nice little limited edition popcorn bucket. I'll give it this much. It's better than the little plastic tub that they gave for for Force Awakens. This actually looks like something I can actually hold on to. Ooh, what's this? Yep, there's my proof. I went to the Thursday screening, so that way I can definitely not cheat around the bush. Not that stale either. So yeah, picture this. I'm here in a room full of Star Wars fans and stuff. We're all wearing t-shirts and everything. One has like a Wookiee thing. And here I am. I'm the only person wearing a Dark Crystal t-shirt. Because nobody said it was the 35th anniversary, damn it! I'm kind of glad I didn't bring it up, you know. I thought this was a screening for that Jim Henson movie where it was like, it had like Gary Kurtz doing the special effects and stuff, and what? No, this is Last Jedi, but what? No. Maybe it's a good thing I didn't say that, or otherwise I would have had my ass dragged out the parking lot by a bunch of scruffy-looking nerf herders. Okay, so also the other reason why I didn't do the vlog up until now is because I wanted to let this movie settle in for a little bit so I can know exactly where my thoughts are with this one, because there's a lot that's happened within the previous weeks of this movie. It's made a ton of money. That's the first thing that should be addressed. It broke a lot of records in opening weekend, and then with the critical reception, that's where it got interesting. Like, it was first, you know, it was like, oh, certified fresh red tomatoes, and then when it turned to the public reaction was weirdly different. And the moment I knew this was not going to go down well was when I saw the audience reception from Rotten Tomatoes and all the news reports and stuff about it. Like, it's at 55 to 56%. No, it's at 57. It's not as big as it was when they did Force Awakens. It's like, is that the only news source you have? Metacritic? IMDb? Can't you just poll people out in the street? No? Hello? So, I figured it was safe just to settle for a bit and wait until the movie passed its course, and I think now's a good time to bring it out and talk about it, considering how the New Year's coming to a close, and it's probably for, you know, good reason and stuff. So to reiterate, if you remember years ago when I would see Force Awakens, I didn't jump onto the hype. I mentioned, you know, I didn't, you know, jump onto the hype train and get all excited. I was sort of like, okay, you know, cool, another Star Wars movie. Not what I was looking forward to. You know, James Gunn's got me covered with Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's fine. And when I saw the movie, there was stuff I liked and stuff I didn't like. I didn't like seeing it being a retread and stuff. But, oh, they gotta keep it safe for the fans and all that. Oh, they want to, you know, trust us. It's like, yeah, but it's Star Wars. There's so many things you can do in this universe. You can go to different planets, have different aliens. Heck, the comedic sketches are more interesting as all that. There's like a Richard Pryor sketch where he's a bartender hosting a Star Wars cantina theme thing. There's all these different aliens and stuff. Something like that, in a sense. Not in the sense of, you know, Richard Pryor doing a Star Wars movie. I mean, in the sense of just, you know, do something Star Wars. And just a few minutes ago, I was watching a video on what George Lucas's Episode 7 would have been like, and it sounds interesting. It sounds really interesting. There would have been stuff like, relics of the Death Star underwater and all these other things, and it's like, that I could actually kind of sort of vouch for. Alright, that sounds, different. What happened? We want to make a retro movie for the fans. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign at all. So, with that in mind, there were some things I did like about it. I liked, the Finn character and how he's a stormtrooper that, realizes that this isn't the way to do things. What's her name? The girl character. I feel so bad. Rey. Thank you, Rey. I thought Rey was a good character. I thought she was kind of interesting. They definitely kept a lot of mystery there. I liked how she could forge for herself and stuff, even under hard times on that planet. But then when it started retreading Star Wars all over again, and the Death Star and everything, first of all, great idea with the planet Death Star. Second, dumb idea to do that whole thing regrouping Episode 4, and so yeah, that's where I stand with that movie. Rogue One, I liked. I know that one has a lot of mixed opinions, but I like the idea that it was sort of a prequel to Episode 4. So now comes The Last Jedi, and it's been getting a lot of mixed attention. There's fans that have been saying, get it out of the canon, don't make it exist. It's like, if you don't want it to exist, don't buy the movie. That's the same thing I did with not Star Wars. It's the same thing I did with Star Trek V. The only ones that exist in my universe are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So yeah, if you really just want the straightforward answer, because I've yacked on for 7 minutes, I enjoyed this one. I didn't have any problems with it. I had problems, but they're really nitpicky in terms of story and pace. This has been talked about quite a lot, so I really don't see myself adding anything new. And even to discuss about it would get into spoiler territory. There's one thing I'd like to talk about in terms of spoilers, but I'll probably save it for the end so that way I don't ruin too much. But I will say, just for the fact, a lot of critics are saying it's better than Empire Strikes Back, and it's like, really? Watch that again. There's a difference between this one and Empire. Empire Strikes Back came at a point when you have this dark turn. After being introduced to this wondrous, amazing universe, what's left to carry that are the characters that we like. And to see them go through that dark turn and try to be more mature and discovering more things about them, that's what made that one work quite a lot. Because then you have your story being carried on the shoulders of Luke Skywalker and him learning to be more like a Jedi and the mystic ways and diving into the mythos a little more. You have that on and off thing between Han Solo and Leia. They bicker like a couple, but at the same time they make up really easily. You have Darth Vader that's trying to scavenge the galaxy, and you have this feeling that he's had this past and a history, and you want to see more about him. And that's what made that sequel work so much. This one, I felt like they were improving the things that didn't work in Force Awakens, in a sense. Ryan Johnson, or is it Brian Johnson? This is me at 8 a.m. in the morning. I didn't have any coffee, so bear with me here if I do get things wrong. I apologize in advance. The guy who did Looper and Breaking Bad episodes, he directed this one, and I think he knew exactly what sort of direction to take it in. He wanted to make an old-fashioned Star Wars movie, and that's where I congratulate him too. It does feel like an old-fashioned Star Wars movie, minus the digital effects. And him and the writers and the actors, I'm crediting a whole bunch of people here because there's a lot of effort going into this movie. I think they knew exactly what direction to take it in and what to do from here. And in a sense, it does end up being like the Empire Strikes Back of the saga. You have Finn that's trying to be less of a controlled stormtrooper and stuff, and being more on the side of the resistance and learning what it means to when to fight back, when not to fight back. You have that, I forgot his name there, that X-Wing fighter pilot there, who was in the open. They're trying to make him more Han Solo-ish or something like that. He has, like, I guess, sort of a character arc thing, how, when to act, when not to act. And when you really do add up the points between his storyline and what's going on, it's like, I can see what they were doing with his character, but at the same time, it's like, you kind of wonder if he's in the right or in the wrong. And I think by the end of the movie, you sort of decide from there. And it's kind of sad, because when you really put the pieces together, all of his actions that he tries to, save the resistance and everything, it kind of seems a little pointless. Especially with the midsection, which I'll get into a second. There's more General Hux. Loved him in Force Awakens. I thought he was the best thing in Force Awakens, honestly, because he was so over the top. My favorite scene is him addressing these stormtroopers, and he's like yelling and shouting, and he's like eyes bugging out everything. And there's more of him in this one, and I like what they do with his character in this one. He goes from that, I have the power to, and he becomes Darth Vader's bitch in a sense. I thought that was great. Kylo Ren, I had a lot of problems with the first film. I thought he was way too whiny. He felt like this very bratty kid that wanted to get things his way and couldn't. Here, they really rectify that. They really rectify that, and thank God. They actually make him a threat in this movie, and I couldn't be more happier to actually see that. They, make him interesting. He does go back and forth between whether he should turn to the good side or stick with what he has, but try to do something with it. And I liked what they did with that. I definitely liked how they definitely built around that. There wasn't a sense where they were trying to make this, little whiny, scrawny thing, be a villain. He actually felt like a threat. If you're looking for answers about Snoke, who actually looks better this time around. They actually have Andy Serkis do motion capture and stuff, and it's better. It's definitely better. It's not an improvement, but it definitely looks better. And if you're hoping for more material about who he is and what he is, it's probably one thing I should address. If you're looking for, the questions and mysteries raised in the previous movie, if you're expecting answers to those questions you had, you might be disappointed. I didn't really have questions. I just sort of walked in and was sort of like, okay, I remember the first one. Let's just hope that this is a good entry. That's all I had in my mind. I didn't care about, what pizza Luke ordered when he was on the island or stuff like that. It was more like, I want to see where this goes. I hope it's good. And that's really what was on my mind. I think because J.J. Abrams has this thing of leaving the door open and adding a lot of ambiguity to a lot of his work, with stuff like Lost, I think that's where the audience kind of got lost. That kind of got swayed a little. Because you have those folks that were like, I want to see a continuation of this, I want to see the continuation of that, I want answers. And that's part of the problem, because if you give those answers out in one movie, you got nothing else to build from in terms of making a trilogy out of it. There's going to be one more go, and that's that. But even then, when Lucas did Return of the Jedi, he knew what loose ends to tie up and what to leave open. So, in a sense, you could say it is a final chapter that sort of leaves the door open a crack. It's kind of my same critiques for the director's cut of Nightbreed. It ends a lot of things, but at the same time, it sort of just leaves the door open just a hinge to say there is enough room to make another one here, and if there's not another one, at the very least, it felt like a beginning to end kind of story. And I think here they wanted to make this, big grand epic and continue it off that and make another big grand epic to capitalize off. They're gonna make another one. There's no way they're gonna answer things off the fly, like, oh, who are, Rey's parents, or, oh, what about this, oh, what about that. It's like, they're gonna make another one. Just enjoy it for what it is. And I think that's where people really got lost, and that's where I'm coming from. I could be right or wrong, because I know there's other things too, like, oh, they tarnish Luke Skywalker's, credibility. And it's like, yeah, do you want the same thing again? Do you want the same thing? I thought here what they did with Luke's character was interesting. It was definitely different. It was not what I had in mind at all. He's pretty much living on this island. He's kind of like shut-in George Clooney from Tomorrowland, but better. But betterly written is the better case. He's here on this island. They show how he lives off of it and some of the inhabitants and stuff, and that worked for me. I thought that worked. I liked how he's sort of this scruffy-looking character, and it's sort of interesting how to go back from the first film and see him with all this joy and hope, and to see him here just sort of like, yeah, this is what it is, kid. Welcome to reality. He has like the beard and everything. I like that interpretation. I actually kind of like that. I like how they show that he has the ways to fend for himself. I like how there's also a little bit of hope left in him, in a sense. There's this scene where he's looking at like all the Jedi counseling books and stuff, and the stuff they did with that I thought was kind of unique. So there's that question of, does he hold out a little bit of hope for the force that once was there, or something like that? And I probably should get this out of the way right now. The porgs that are living on the island, I was a little worried at first, because when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, great, now another property to sell off of to make more Ewok toys. I'm glad it went in the direction it went in. If you love porgs, you're going to feel sorry for them. If you hate porgs, you're going to love what they do to them. I'm not going to say too much else. But the very first... When you have the very first joke, it's clear they knew people were going to hate these... It's clear they knew that there was going to be a portion of people that were going to hate these things off the fly. So at least you're sort of okay with that. It's sort of hard to explain without spoiling too much. But there's this love-hate thing going on with Chewie and these creatures, and the way they play out with that is really good. It has a Tom and Jerry kind of scenario with it, and I think that's what makes it work so well, because you have moments where the porgs are trying to one-up Chewie, and Chewie's like slapping them around a couple of times, or freaking eating them. It was just too perfect. Here he is having like this little, I don't know, pork roaster in his pork roaster, and you have all these like porks going, right. It's the minute that happened, I was like, all right, fine, you have me sold on porgs. I'm okay with this. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else to talk about. Again, this is me in the morning, you get all fizzle and stuff. In terms of positives, I liked the special effects were definitely pretty good. There's definitely a good meshing between CGI and practical. It doesn't feel like one giant video game like the prequels, and thank goodness for that. Yeah, if I dig in any more positives, I'll probably ruin a good portion of the movie, so I guess the best thing to dip into is what I didn't like. And like I said, they're nitpicks. I enjoyed the movie overall, but not enough to, completely win me over and be like, oh yes, this is the one thing you think. It's more like, it's enjoyable. It's definitely better than Force Awakens. There's just one major problem. The length of the movie. This enchilada is 2.5 hours long. And I'm fine with movies like that. I don't mind long movies unless you have enough reasons to pad out for that running time. And it seems like the case is, we have so many characters, we gotta devote, enough time for Admiral Akbar here and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, but you can cut things back and simplify a few things. And that was sort of the best thing about the, original films. Even though there was so much devotion to so many characters, they share enough time on screen to avoid overrunning that 2-hour runtime. And I think here what really kills it is that some of this sort of outstays its welcome too much to the point where you start seeing that certain things could have been simplified or maybe cut down quite a bit. The opening feels like it was written for a Robot Chicken sketch. I'm not gonna say what it is. It's a big battle scene. It's really cool looking. There's a lot of great stuff. It feels like you're watching a WW2. Um, it feels like you're watching Dunkirk in a sense in space, and it's really cool. But then you have some of the humor, which feels a little Robot Chicken-y in a sense, like, oh, we got a call from the Resistance, put them on call. Oh, hey, blah, 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 blah. And there's like some banter back and forth, and it's like, oh, I get it, he's distracting him, ha, 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 ha. It's like, it feels weird watching it. It feels like it's paced for, Robot Chicken kind of sketch. You'll see what I mean when you see it. And then it turns into the Sugarland Express in space, where apparently the Force is being chased down by the First Order. Oh, sorry, no, I'm sorry. The Resistance is being chased down by the First Order. And that's really all it is. It's just this long card. If you see Mad Max Fury Road, you'll probably get where I'm going. It's literally one giant chase in space. You have the First Order shooting lasers at this tiny, little ship, and the ship's like going, we gotta escape! Why? We gotta pad the movie and make it exciting! It's the slowest car chase ever! We gotta make it more interesting! And so, because of that, you have this middle section that drags so much. But at least in Empire, Empire Strikes Back, there was a chase going on, but it was interesting. It threw obstacles at you. You had the Millennium Falcon going into an asteroid field. You had them, hiding in Cloud City and stuff like that. And here, it's just this slow chase, and what's going on is these other things are going on, like, oh, they're tracking us through hyperspeed, so we can't go into hyperspeed. Oh, now we have to, find someone to help us, deactivate their tracker so they don't follow us in light speed. And this is where it really drags. They send a couple of characters to this planet, and it's one giant casino, and they have to find this tracker or whatever, and they have to find this code breaker or whatever. And I just felt like it was an excuse to just go to this whole other world, and all that time is spent in this, world, and it doesn't look interesting. It just looks like a bunch of aliens at Mohegan Sun. And we spend so much time there seeing how it works and everything, and it got to a point where it's like, one, it's not very interesting, and two, because so much time is spent on this one little planet, it makes me wonder if there was a way just to sort of simplify it. Like, maybe they use, radio-controlled kind of techniques to sort of contact said person or something like that, but no, now they have to, find the person, everything, bring him in, and, oh, he could be, a smuggler or something like that. It's just like, you don't have to do that. You could have just... There could have been a more creative way around that. Now we have to spend, 20 minutes on this planet and see, all the kid abuse, the child abuse, and it's like, don't give me that. Come on. This is Star Wars. The only time this movie really worked was when we were getting into the mythos of the Force and seeing Rey being trained by Luke, and Luke explaining, what happened and why, he's hopeless and everything. And that was when it got engaging for me. That's when it got interesting, because it felt like it was building off of the original mythos of the Jedi and the Force and this whole, system that's going on and stuff. And that's when it worked the most for me, because even you have moments where Rey is trying to contact Kylo Ren, and they sort of communicate with each other, and even though they could be siblings or maybe not be siblings, there's so much character they developed for them to the point where it felt like that was the only interesting thing for the movie. And that made me feel bad, because I liked what they did with Finn in the previous movie, where he's seeing that he's more than just a weapon. He's an actual person, an actual soul. And here I am just seeing him running around this casino with all these loose animals and everything. Hey, Bella. It just felt like less of a story and more like padding in a sense. And I don't mind things like that. But when it stops the movie cold, it will stop the movie cold. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about at the moment. The ending, I felt like there were too many endings. I felt there's one big powerhouse moment that happens, and then they add on another one. And it's like, okay, are we going to end right there? Is that okay? No, we have to wrap it up, show the characters before the end credits roll. It's like, okay, fine. And then they add on another scene, and it's like, come on, could you at least make cuts here and there, or cut that out? You had your cool final shot before the end credits. You could have just ended it right there, but no, they have to continue it and make it like this big powerhouse ending. It's like, you had one powerhouse moment. One. And if you're going to add another on, at least try and build from that. If you're going to go from King Kong destroying the train to him destroying the Empire State Building, at least that worked because it was a small powerhouse moment that kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it got into this finale. Here in Last Jedi, you have this powerhouse moment that's built off of these different things, and then they just literally say, screw it, we're going to go to this other powerhouse moment and have like this big, huge battle scene, which is really cool, but I think they blew their one shot there because I felt like I was watching the ending to the next entry and not this one. I felt like they already had their big moment with Last Jedi, and I just felt it didn't make any sense to continue from there. But don't get me wrong, both double climaxes are really cool. I just felt like I should have been better with one, and if there was a way they could somehow mesh the two together, I would have been fine. But to see them as two separate climaxes, literally tagged together with like glue and tape, it's just like, no, you could have had one or the other, or somehow tied them together. But looking past all that, is it the perfect Star Wars movie ever made? No, I'm not holding my breath. There's other things out there that I can live with. I'm not as crazy as I am about Star Wars anymore, and I think that's because of the prequels and George Lucas's special editions. It's like, okay, fine. I think I've given into the fact that it is what it is, and the only enjoyment you can get out of it is really what you can truly appreciate from what there is and what's existing of it. And I think because of all these sequels and everything and expanding into the universe and stuff, it's like, oh, new information to learn upon. Well, that's kind of nice. Again, it comes full circle. It's like there's comic books of this. There's fan art and all that sort of stuff. And there's like guides and everything. But at the end of the day, there's only one Dark Crystal. And it's this one. It's this one movie. And that's what makes it so interesting, because there is a mythos around it. It's on this planet. There's all these different creatures and stuff, and the planet's alive. And it's like, that is something I can come back to and see a lot, because it's so interesting to see how there's one movie devoted to so much mythology and stuff, and yet every time you see it, you pick up on something. And it's not, like, difficult to understand and all that sort of stuff. Now they're going to do like a new Netflix spinoff, and I'm curious to see how that goes. I heard it's a prequel. They're going to use all puppets and stuff. I'm curious to see where that can go. In the case of Star Wars, it started with 3 movies, and I was okay with that. Then they had the special editions. I was like, okay, still got the originals, yeah. Then there were the prequels, and it was like, yeah, and I think you can see where I'm coming from here. When you add things on to this whole world that used to look so unique, so interesting, and so mystique, it can either help or harm the enjoyment. And I think in the case of Star Wars, it's gone on for so long to the point where it was a franchise before they decided to make it a franchise. Even before then. So, how does that affect my enjoyment of The Last Jedi? Well, not a whole lot. I still had a good time. It's a Star Wars movie at heart, but it plods on for so long. It feels like there's moments where they needed to pay off to certain things when they should have, done it before. I feel like I've just sat through two entries, just sort of crashed into each other and try to make something of it. It's a well-made movie. It looks cool, and that's really all it is. I think really when you boil down to it, a lot of fans were just disappointed because they expected certain things. They expected this, they expected that, and when they're handed something that they don't expect, they're going to go back wanting crazy over it. They're going to really deject it or be like, oh, okay, that's kind of nice. I can live with that. I don't think petitions are needed. Okay, get rid of it, burn it, burn it. It's like, you don't need that. If you really don't like it that much, just don't buy the movie. Just, that's simple as that. It's my same feelings for Star Trek V. If you don't want it to exist, don't buy it. It's that simple. Alien movies, on the other hand, thank God I got the Alien anthology, because there's no way I'm getting that 6 movie collection, whatever it is. I can live with the first 4, but it's good God, Ridley Scott, man. I think at this point I can live with Star Wars more than another Alien. Though I would like to say in advance, I'm curious to see what other directors could do with this franchise, in a sense. The one guy I think that I'd like to see do something interesting with this is honestly Michael Dougherty. He has like a very B-movie kind of sense to it, and I'd like to see how that could translate into something like this. I know James Gunn has Guardians, so it's clear he could probably do a Star Wars movie on the fly, even though he's already done 2 of them, both with Michael Rooker. And yeah, it's what it is. I got no complaints. I had a good time. It was better than the last one, even though it was a little too lengthy. Plot was a little thin, but when it worked, it did work. That's really all I got to say about it. So now I'm going to spoil the one big thing that won me over, because this is a very crucial thing, and if it wasn't for this one thing, chances are I would have thought less of this movie, because it really tied into everything. So if you want to, you can stop the video here. So I'm now going to talk about the ultimate spoiler. So midway in this movie, a familiar character appears, and it caught me off. It caught me off guard so much, but in a good way. Midway in the movie, Luke was, kind of losing all hope and stuff. And then who should appear but the ghost of Yoda? And at first, I was a little skeptical. But then as they, showed more shots and everything, I thought it was CGI at first. I thought it was, an imitator or someone, voicing Yoda. And then as I heard the voice more and saw the performances, I realized, oh my God, it's Frank Oz performing the actual character. Oh my God, it's not a CGI creation, it's an actual puppet. It even gets to whack Luke on the head with a staff and stuff. And it was a well-written scene. It was very beautifully done. Everything about it just literally won me over. And I know what you're thinking. How can one little scene win you over? Well, here's why. The message of the moment is sometimes in order to move on, we have to forget things about the past. And I felt like that is something that really connected very well. And to have it come from a character that is so well regarded, well loved, teaching all these wise wisdoms and stuff, it made sense to have it come out of this character and not Ben Kenobi, because Yoda was on his training Luke and stuff. But just to have this one certain moment, this one real reunion between Muppet and Mark Hamill, and yet something about it felt like Empire Strikes Back in a sense, and that's what made it work so well. The dialogue, the tone and delivery, and just the whole thing embodied the fact that sometimes in order to just sort of it's you got to let the new be as it is. You can either accept it or just do the same thing over and over again. And I think that message really resonated well really here. I know a lot of fans are jumping on the skepticalism and being like, "Oh yeah, that's a good message, but it has to get ruined later on when so and so forth happens." It's like, yeah, but if you just look at the scene as it is in context, it really resonates quite a lot well. Because it made me think back to how I felt about Force Awakens and how it retreaded too much. It was doing the old, and yeah, sometimes you just gotta let the new be as it is. So, with that said, I'm just gonna leave that as it is, and until then, see you in the new year.